What's happening, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how you can use your 52 Nash steering wheel, your 62 Ford steering wheel, your 49 Lincoln steering wheel, your Cad LaSalle wheel, your Oldsmobile wheel, whatever the choice may be on your traditional hot rod, and how we can make that all come together fairly easily and painlessly. So let's get into it. Okay, guys, so here's the deal. In this particular instance, this is a 62 Ford steering column shaft. I just cut the rag joint end off, slid the shaft, took the retaining plate off, slid the shaft out. I even saved this little centering ring and the bearing because it fits perfectly inside our shaft. Let's see, right here. It's perfectly inside the shaft we'll be using. So that'll center up the wheel nice, and we can utilize that original bearing. A lot of guys want to use, that's a neat steering wheel on their hot rod. And it gets complicated because you got to change joints, you got to change steering boxes, it gets confusing, and the splines don't match up. They all attach different. Some are keyed, some are splined, some have different splines. Most of them are tapered, but a really easy and traditional way of doing this, most of these steering columns, even though the wheels attach differently, they're the same diameter. So what I did is I went ahead and cut the tube down past where I'm going to need to go. I got my shaft, and I got this collar, and it is just tight enough that it doesn't quite want to go on. You could probably hammer it on cold. What we'll end up doing is we'll end up heating this thing hot, really hot. We'll tap it on one end. Oh, it actually slid on that end. We'll adjust our height of our steering column to where we need it to be. And then this will go in. We'll weld it up top and bottom. And then we'll take some of these. I just happen to have these laying around. These are grade 8 bolts. And what I'll do is I'll drill a hole exactly that size through the collar and the shaft on the bottom and on the top. Insert the bolt through, mark it, cut it to length so it's just shy of sticking out on both sides, and then weld the holes. Just plug weld the holes. That'll pin it in place, weld it, sleeve it. It'll turn true. It fits inside the column tube. Easily fits inside this tube, no issues. And then we've got our splines, so we can run whatever wheel we want. For us today, it's between the 62 Ford and the 52 Packard wheel, and I think we're going 52 Packard. I'll show you guys both options, but I've been asking some friends. I posted it on my Instagram. The 52 Packard wheel just has a better flow with the dash, and I think that's the route we're going to go. But let's get started. What we're going to do first is we're going to mark and drill our holes in this. That way, all we have left to do is to drill through the column once it's welded in place. Another thing we need to do before we get too far into this is we need to determine the height that we're going to go. So because I'm thinking I'm going to run the 52 Packard wheel, I'm going to get that mated up on the shaft, and we're just going to try to figure out what's comfortable. What I've done is I've put this seat in here. I don't know if we'll use this seat or not. It's sitting right on the ground. It's only about, 3-4 inches tall with me sitting on it. It's got a real thin back. but it really has me sitting in the car where I want to be. You know, elbow over the door. I'm in the car. I'm not on the car. I can still, I plan on taking an inch out of this windshield. I can still do that easily and not be obscured. So this is a good seat. You want to be sitting where you're going to be because you're custom fitting the car to you. And right now, I could have this wheel be way in. I could have the wheel be way out. That'd be sitting in my gut right there. And it'd also make it really hard to get in and out. So what we're going to do is we're just going to try some different sizes on, and then we'll mark it, cut the shaft, and we're good to go. So we're in the car, sitting roughly where we're going to sit. It's comfortable enough. You know, we'll have a gas pedal somewhere in here. Brakes already here. Right? So this is where we're going to be. You need to keep in mind our distance between the wheel and the door. Now, it is a hot rod, and some amount of stepping up over the wheel and sitting down in is going to happen. These cars were built for a lot smaller people than me. And I don't have a fat man wheel. I can also get in on the passenger side, I suppose. But let's go ahead and try to figure this. Got the wheel on the splines. Holding it roughly in line with the foot. Set up. So roughly in line there. Where do we want to be? I want to be able to reach the wheel. I don't want to be reaching for the wheel. You know, I want it to be comfortable. But I also want to leave myself as much room to get in and out as possible. I don't want it resting on my knees. I want to have room to get my leg bent enough for the pedal. There's the brake. That really feels pretty good right there. I think I'm liking that. We're not so far away that I'm reaching for the wheel. Yeah, I think I'm liking that. Try to get in a good driving position here. Also, the cab on this thing tapers in. A lot of these early cars do. So check your clearance between your hand on the wheel and the door. You don't want to get to where you're spinning the wheel and you're whacking your hand on the door every time you come around. And because I have the shaft to the right here, that's been a little, I've given myself a little extra room. Bring it over to where it actually goes, and that starts getting tight. I think that's pretty good right there. How much shaft we need. Let's go ahead and get that cut. Got it marked. We'll get it cut. And what we'll do is we'll do a dry fit if we're able to. If I'm able to fit this column inside there, like it barely fits on here, we'll do a dry fit. You want that tight though. You don't want your collar to be loose enough that it allows your wheel to be turning, because you'll get a wheel that'll it'll have a little bend inside the column tube there, and your wheel's going to do weird stuff. You want that thing spinning true. Like that. Oh yeah, there we go. That's all the way in there. Yeah, I like that. Column is going to move over just a touch, but not much. I like that. We are going to have to source a horn button, but there's quite a few 52 Nash horn buttons on the eBay, the Evil Bay. So we'll have no issue doing that. Dig it. Cool. All right, let's get our holes drilled on our collar. I don't think we're actually going to have to use heat. I thought we were going to have to heat the collar up. If your collar is too snug, don't go grinding on the steering shaft. Heat it up. Tap it on. You want as tight a fit as possible, but this one fits. So we're just going to go ahead and drill our holes, and then we will flap wheel very lightly both columns so we can weld without any issues. First thing we're going to do is clean this up, because if we do have to tap it on at all in any way, we don't want to have to move it again, tap it back off, and go through all that. So first thing, take that off. Next, see if we can, get that off. And we're going to clean up this lower shaft. Remember, you are wanting to drill on either end here. One end, the other end. What we're actually going to do in an effort to make it a little easier on ourselves is we're going to drill and weld this end first. And the reason we're doing that is so we have less to do in the car, because I'm not pulling the steering box out just to do this. I don't need to. So the other end will get attached in the car, but this end will get attached on the bench. So I already cleaned that up. Oops. This end. I cleaned up the shaft. This is the end we already flap wheel. We will have to flap wheel this end before we actually put it in the car. Some burrs made a little snugger fit there, which is a good thing. Okay, let's go ahead and drill. Use your bushing as a guide to get you started. Now that we have our starting point that we did over there in the vise, we're going to finish it in the drill press, just so we can try to replicate what we did with the collar as best we can. You can have a steady hand all you want, but probably not going to have a steady enough hand with that drill to get it drilled perfectly, exactly the way you did on the drill press. And then your pin won't line up, and then you'll be irritated. So we'll drop of oil. Remember, the slower that your drill or your drill press is turning, the longer your bits are going to last. The cooler you keep those bits, the more often you use some cooling and cutting aid, like, what was that, fluid tap or rapid tap I'm using there, the longer your bits are going to last. I've been seeing so many guys lately complaining that their bits, oh, my bits only, even Vice Grip Garage, old Derek over there says, oh, my bits only is good for 14 zaps or whatever. It's like, well, because you're torqued all the way up to the highest speed trying to rip through it like it's a 2x4. This is metal. You got to drill slow with metal. Real slow. This drill press is set to its slowest speed right now. And the bigger the bit, the slower it needs to turn. I've used some really crappy bits and they've lasted a long time because I was going slow and I was lubricating, using cutting aid, keeping them cool. Think about it, just like forging a knife or something. When you're heating something up to harden it, like a drill bit is hardened, What happens if you heat it up again over and over again? You screw up that temper that's on that piece of steel. That's what you're doing to your drill bit. You're screwing up the temper by heating it up too much, spinning it too fast, and then it's soft and it goes dull on you. And then you go, oh man, I can't even sharpen them. I don't know if guys even sharpen their drill bits anymore. I do. They say, oh, I can't even sharpen them. They won't hold an edge. It's like, well, yeah, because you ruin the temper on the bit. This is why we need shop class in school, guys. People should know this stuff. Got multiple high viewer YouTube channels that I've seen complaining about how crappy their drill bits are, and then I watch them just go into town full speed on them. It's like, well, that's your problem right there. And your drill bits. And to be fair, there are better drill bits than others. There are some drill bits that just whip through metal. I mean, just awesome. You don't really need that, though, to have a drill bit that'll cut through metal and last. You don't need to drop crazy money on your drill bits. Not necessary. Just take your time. Cutting aid. Keep the bit cool. Spin it slow. You'll get there. Line you guys up so you can see that. Can you see it? Perfectly straight. Now we got to do it again with a bigger bit. Just like that. And remember, before this pin we're making ever comes into play, you would have to break this weld. One of the two. Because it's going to be welded all the way around. The pin is just a safety feature. So this is going to get its head cut off, and then that'll get cut off, and it'll get recessed so that it's hooking the shaft and this just below the surface so we can throw some weld on either end to make it permanent. She's recessed. Oh, dropped it. And that's going to be really hot. Okay. You can see she's recessed just a hair on both sides so we can get some weld in there and penetrate that. Let's go get this thing welded up. This metal's on fire. Okay. Just like that. Try to get her as straight as you can on this end. I suppose you can take your whole steering column out and put it in the drill press if you want to. I get it real square, but I'm just giving you the old once over. Tell you another thing I could have done. Since this bushing was loose enough to slide, I could have put it on, tapped it up here, and I could have beveled these two shafts and welded them together in the center, then tapped this back over the top of that, then drilled these holes, although it would have been a lot harder in the car with both holes, then welded the ends, then welded the pins. Another way to skin that cat. There that be. Oh yeah. There you have it. Now we got to do that pin deal and weld deal and a whole deal all over again. Next, we're going to go ahead and take this. We're going to weld that nut onto there. That'll do it. That's pretty well lined up. It's not far off. You guys see that? I get light in there. It's not far off. 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch to center it up, I'd say. Junk, that doesn't work. But if we did an oversized nut, that's around about 1/4 inch. I think that might work. I made that look easier than it was. There we go. I can tell you by eyeball that that is too much. See if you guys can see that. I need just a touch less. And if you don't believe me, my eye is excellent, but if you don't believe me, let's measure. See? Too much. So maybe thinner nut. Now that's looking pretty close. That's looking pretty darn close. Oh, folks, we are in business. Okay, guys. Now what we need to do is we need to rejoin these tubes, the outer of the column. The shaft's done. We got our bearing. We got our cool little trim collar. I'll tell you what, just the tiniest bit of skim coat, primer, paint. You would never know we were even here. Well, I'd say that worked out. I think this thing's got a good look. It's going to pull down just a little bit more when I put the nut on. Looks intentional. We'll get a nice column drop made. Probably hold it somewhere out there. We'll have to see with our exhaust. But I dig it. Gotta polish up the ring. I'll get a horn button ordered, or maybe I'll make one. We'll see. But yeah, that's how you adapt a steering column to whatever wheel you want. I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you like, hope you share, hope you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, please. We are growing so big, so fast, and I appreciate all the new subscribers. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.